You're listening to the LIVT podcast, the 5-minute series designed to help you better understand private aviation services.
Okay, hello everyone. Justin Smith, president, one of the founders of LIVT Private Aviation Membership. We're here in Newport, California. We've been visiting members and for a couple of days here. I'm here with Hayden Alston. Hayden Alston is one of the principals of Harvey Construction. I've vibrated into Hayden's life here recently through the better part of my life, which is Patricia Braz and her children. Patricia and Harvey do work in executive cleaning where they are to work together, and Hayden invited us out to do some outreach work at the Hearts with Hope Ladies Foundation at home, I believe, where we actually came in and planted rose bushes and remodeling the bulbs. And I was able to meet Hayden and take him off a saw so he could actually do better at what he was doing and make sure everything was moving forward. Since my father was a carpenter, I grew up in construction, so I was able to work with it. So I met Hayden that way, and I heard his story. He's a Christian. Like I am, he's had a challenging life, like we all have. He's found the opportunity out of the problems, and with that, he's done well. He's successful, and he's also out there making a difference in the world and giving back to the community. So I want to have him on today to hear his story and learn more about him and just see what we can do in our network with our members, with our network of other vendors we deal with. That we'll talk about in the near few minutes as well. But Hayden, thanks for joining us today. We're having some technical difficulties out here on the Newport Beach, but we're going to work through them, man. But Hayden, great to have you, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm jealous. I wish I was sitting next to you there on Newport. The weather looks good.
Well, everybody's been apologizing for the weather. Right? I said, oh, it's already so gloomy. I'm like, this is it. It rolls in off the mountains, and it gets gloomy for a little bit. It gets sunshiny. So it's going to be nice. But we're out here for business. I brought Patricia with me. The last minute, the night before, we decided to bring Mia, her 9-year-old, and the 19-year-old, and said we got a house right here on the beach, so why not bring them? They can hang on the beach. So here we are.
Man, life can't be too bad, man. Right? It's a lot better than this 100-degree heat we're dealing with down here in Houston, Texas. So
hey, it is what it is, man. But hey, thank you for having us out there today, and I know that we also donated a flight to the poker tournament as well, but. Tell us about your story, how you became, with Harvey, what you kind of told us in the at the outreach program where we were doing the house and so forth. And the words are escaping me. I'm a redneck, and I grew up in a single white trailer, so sometimes my verbiage is a little off. So I'm not as well spoken as Hayden and as other people are, but I get my point across. But Hayden, go ahead, man.
Yeah. Well, I grew up here in Houston, Texas. A little bit about my background as a kid. Went through a tough run. My parents, when I was about 8 years old, went through a rough divorce. And, I'll go ahead and skip ahead and say they're doing a lot better today. And I love my parents, both of them. But there was a tough run there. And my dad exited from the situation for a little bit. And my mom went down a really bad path. Had to live with my grandfather for several years. And I say had to, it was a real blessing that he was a stable force in my life. Right. But I went through a tough run, and had it not been for the stable force of my granddad, I could have gone down a very different path. So I've always had a heart for wanting to help others that did not pick their situation. I was dealt a hand, and through the grace of God, I got through it, and I got through it okay. But it was also through the stability of a lot of other people around me. When my grandfather passed away, I moved up to the north side of Houston. And it was actually there that in the senior year of my high school, I met my future wife and followed her up to College Station to Texas A&M, where I ended up getting a degree in construction science. And then that's how I ended up at Harvey Builders. Okay. Harvey is a wonderful place to work. It's one of the largest general contractors in the Gulf. And we do all kinds of great work. Through working at Harvey, I learned a great set of skills, and it wasn't just how to build, but it's also how to manage work and learn, gain so many great relationships. You mentioned one of them, which is Patricia. So many that I've been able to meet over the years, and it's just such a wonderful industry. So how did I get involved with building new foundations, and how did I actually started this organization? So how did that happen? Let me tell you that part. When I was living up on the north side of town, I lived on a little farmhouse, and every single day on my way to work and on my way home, I would drive past this place that had lots of kids running around in the front.
Right.
And I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe it was a large foster home. I thought maybe it could be an orphanage. I really had no idea. But shamefully, I have to tell you, Justin, for years, I just excused myself out of ever stopping and pulling over and just asking the simple question, what's going on here? Is there anything I can do to help?
Right.
And so I hate to say that shamefully, I was as close to this place as I could possibly be, but I never did pull over.
Right.
And finally, one day, after years of ignoring and excusing myself out of stopping, and the excuses could seem like good ones. I was a young married man. I had young kids. My wife was finishing up her final years of dental school. I was, working my fingers to the bone, long days. I just felt tired, and I never felt, like I had the energy to make that stop. So finally I did.
Like we all do, right? Like we all do, right? We put it off, but go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's one of the big messages that I like to share with people is we want to give back. And sometimes we don't know where to look, and it might be right in front of our face. And I could not have been any closer to a very worthy place than I was. So finally, one day I pull in and I find out that this place is what's called a residential treatment center. And what they had there was 40 young boys aged 7 to 17 who had failed the foster care system. These were kids who had endured, most of them, the most awful abuse you can imagine, unspeakable harm. And so I started doing some small projects for them. I asked, what could we do? And they gave me some small projects, and me and some of my buddies started helping out. And then that Christmas came along, that December rolled around, and I asked, could we give these boys that were there a Christmas gift? And they said yes. And I asked, what do they need? And the guy said, they really just need a backpack. And I learned that most of these kids that show up at this residential treatment center, they don't have anything. They don't even have, some of them come with a garbage bag, and it might have a few belongings, and that's about it. And so we got them a few basic things. We got them a backpack, we got them a Bible, and we got them like a sports ball. And I went to go drop it off. And when I went to drop it off, the director of the organization stopped and said, wait right here. And he left. And I didn't know he was going to do this, but he came back with all 40 boys. And then he told them, hey, our friend here, Mr. Hayden, has come and dropped off a gift for all you kids. And some of the boys started crying. They were so excited. And then the gentleman leaned over that ran that organization and said, for some of these kids, this is the first Christmas gift they've ever gotten in their lives. And it broke me. I mean, that's the moment. That was the moment. So I just wanted you to hear the background of my heart and why I have a heart for these kids.
Yeah. And you were modest earlier. You skipped over one of some of the things you went through in your upbringing, right? I mean, it wasn't as bad as many people's in this world, but it's still, we all have our stories, we all have our journeys that got us to a point where we're going. Mine was, I've been since 15, put myself through high school. Nobody in my family went to college, put myself through undergraduate, put myself through my master's. I did, my ratings as a pilot, which nobody flies in my family. So it was, what are you doing, boy? Why aren't you working? Why aren't you working construction? You know do that. Why aren't you working at refineries? And I had my hardships, I had my battles, I had my devils, my demons, and we all have, I'll chase them as well. So I want to, and I also, want to point to something right now we're going to come back to in a minute. And this may be longer than a lot of our podcasts, which is great. People will listen to what it is and hopefully take something from it, because we're going to make a difference with some things we're doing, not necessarily do short no sips. We're trying to sell you something. Okay. And I have twin nephews that were in foster care. Okay, my father, who was passed away a couple of years ago, who was my best friend, he adopted them. He went and adopted them. My sister was out of the picture. She was in jail. Their dad was the one who lost them at the time as well, and he adopted them. My dad had been raising kids since he was 14. Not 15, not 16, not 18, not 20, 14, okay? And so I started getting my nephews that my dad had adopted once a month with another young man named Dylan Medina. Dylan had lost his father at 3.5, 4 years old. And I knew his mom from high school. She lived in the area of the Woodlands. And so I would get these boys once a month. And I did this for, I don't know, man. And sorry, podcast people out there, but I cussed. I grew up in a trailer. And so I grew up on a construction job site. It just is what it is. Okay. All right. If you can't handle it, don't watch it. All right. But we're here to do something good. But the thing is that I get these boys and they had their family, their original family that were all around them loving them. And they're 20 in their early 20s right now. They still have major scars.
Yeah.
Major scars from the abuse they received from their father, being left by their mother in crack houses and this and that, never came back from and so forth. So I get exactly the type of young men you're dealing with. And then George Dahl had on the video a while back ago. He's out of Angel Reach there in Conroe, which I'm sure you've heard of Angel Reach.
Oh, yeah.
Helps all the foster kids out that are timing out as well. And George is a close friend, a previous a member as well, left and flying with me. I've flown George to his wedding and things and so forth. So, all these things are connected. So, I'm talking, I don't want to hear you talk. Hayden, give me this a little bit more. I mean, you shared with us when we were at the lunch break there. Me and the guys were finishing up the room, but they were the last ones doing. We stopped cutting and came over to hear you talk. So I want another, just 2 more minutes of you don't have to give us everything, but, you said you went through a time there. Tell us about the road you walked and that helped you when you got to this point where you stopped at this house, because most people are just going to pass by the house or that location. They're not going to pay any attention to it. So you had some drawing at your heart because somebody had helped you, in my opinion, your grandfather, or others, and so forth. So tell us a little bit about that. So that, I know it's asking to open up here a little bit to people, but you had a good story, man. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Well, thanks for saying that. We all have a choice to make. And the choice is that when you're dealt a bad hand, you got to learn to not allow yourself to become a victim. And you got to see things with the right perspective. And so I had some people around me that were helping me think correctly and process what I had gone through as a young man. My mom got into drugs. She was doing some of the hard stuff, and I don't want to name all of it, but she was doing some really bad drugs. And I have 2 older brothers. My oldest brother got into some trouble as well. I can't blame him or her for some of the exposure and their own stories, their own challenges that they faced. But there does come a point where you have to take ownership and you have to be a positive force in this world. Right. You can't look around and say, well, this was done to me, therefore I have an excuse to be self-destructive or be destructive towards others. So without getting into all the details, I can tell you this: it wasn't an easy run, but the number one reason I was able to come out on the other side okay was my relationship with the Lord. If I did not have a relationship with Christ, I would not have had the strength that I needed to be able to get through it. And then I had some key individuals that chose to invest in me. They chose to come alongside me. My grandfather, my middle brother in particular, had some other friends. Those people, had they not been in my life, I could be on a different path altogether. Right.
And I know that you're being modest with what you're saying, that you're also protecting your family by not speaking, in depth about it. So I get that. I understand that. And we'll keep it light there. But, I've been, the sister that, lost the kids, I was around her at a very young age and her older boyfriends at the time. And so I was involved in a lot of, heavy drugs at 13, 14 years old. And, and I was, and I say that, now because everywhere you go, there is opportunity to get into something that is negative or something that's not going to take you down a real bad, right? And, when I sit down with kiddos and I'm around kiddos, I tell them my story more in depth than this. I tell them about the fights, about the gangs I ran with and things of that nature and the things that I did and living on my own. And the people the people that I wasn't a positive influence in life at the time. And I tell them that not to brag about it, but and not to say I'm proud of that, but to say, look, I can identify with you. I can see where you're going. I see I've been where you've been, and it's not from me pointing the finger saying, "Oh, whoa, me, I'm better." And it's about the fact of identifying with them, going, "Hey, I'm flawed and I'm messed up and I'm just like the rest of us, and I put my pants on the same way you do. I may act like I know it all at times. I may act like I've done it all. I may act really confident at times, but I really don't mean to, because I'm as flawed as they are." And you said it a minute ago, without your relationship with God, a lot of people that I bump into, especially young children, and speak to this for me, Hayden, they think that a relationship with God means that you got to go into school to church every week, that you have to read your Bible, but what does a relationship with God mean to you? I mean, it can mean those things, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
what else does that mean of you? Because there's people out there that really just, we're talking something that's not really popular these days, and we're going to talk about it because I don't care.
Yeah.
And that is, what does it take to have a relationship with Christ? Does it take going to the church every week for you? I mean, do you think that's the way of doing it, or do you think there's more ways than that?
Oh, no. I mean, look, I heard somebody say this once, going to McDonald's doesn't make you a chicken McNugget. Going to church didn't make you a Christian.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a personal relationship that you want with Christ, with Jesus Christ. And that's what made the difference in my life. But I don't want to negate the importance of community. The church has a very important role to play, and you want to congregate with people who
Right.
love the Lord. And, you need to be able to be around people who also understand the fight that you fight day to day. As
Right.
you want to be more conformed to the life that God would want us to live, it's good to be in relationship and around the community of fellow believers. And you know what, though? The important thing is this. A lot of people that don't understand this, they think that means that Christians are these perfect people. And that nothing could be further from the truth.
Right.
If you read the Bible, if you take time to read it, I love that God doesn't try to clean it up. I mean, you read about the greatest heroes of the Bible, like David of the Old Testament, and you see that he was full of flaws and did all kinds of things that were not right. And
Right.
God still loved him. And he more importantly, he still loved the Lord, right?
Right.
He pursued God, and he knew when he needed to seek forgiveness, and he wanted to continue to conform to be better. So that's the point. I mean, I think at the end of the day, our relationship with God isn't about you being perfect. It's allowing him to perfect you through time, and
Right.
knowing that there's going to be moments where you stumble, but you want to be sensitive to being able to ask for forgiveness and to be able to change and be better.
Right.
It also changes the way we see the world, right? It changes
Right.
the way we see other people.
Yeah.
So I will say this. I know that this has run long,
You're good. We're good. We got a little more to go. It's okay, man.
Well, I'll say this. I do want to bring it back. When I made that stop at that organization and they told me about what they were doing there, we started to focus more on what could we do to help them. And there came a point where they were asking me to do stuff that this guy wasn't capable of doing.
Right.
So I at first, I never wanted to share my personal conviction with other people because I didn't feel that it was right for me to do that. I was afraid that it might make people feel pressured or guilty or whatever. So instead, I just didn't do it. Well, one day I asked a few subcontractors, people that I did business with, if they would come out and help me handle some special projects that I wasn't capable of doing myself.
Right.
They came out and they did it. And afterwards, I got a phone call from every single one of those guys saying that was the most rewarding thing I've been able to do in years. All of the guys on our team that came out and did the work were so grateful for that opportunity. If you ever have something like this that comes up again, we want to do it. We want to help kids that are at risk and disadvantaged. And a light bulb just kind of went off. And I went, man, people do want to give back. They just don't know where to do it. People want to donate their services. They want to donate their skill set. They want to donate their dollars. But they don't like giving it to organizations where they know that, or they don't know how much of it's actually going to reach, the recipient. And so that's when we started building New Foundations. And it was to be able to create an opportunity for people to be introduced and onboarded with organizations that do the heavy lifting. And so what we went and did, now I want to finish this, I'm almost done, where you and I met each other was at Hearts with Hope. And Hearts with Hope is a girls' version of the place that I just described, the one that I stopped at, a residential treatment center. And these are girls who, again, have gone through the most awful abuse you can imagine. Building New Foundations, the organization that I'm a part of, we don't do the heavy lifting of treating those young girls. Hearts with Hope does it. But we come alongside them and we ask them, what do you need? What are the things we can do to help support you? And that work day was a result of them saying, we do need some rose bushes put in. We need some work done around here. And so then we broadcast that out to our community, the people that we have reach with. And we say, here comes a work day. If you're interested and you'd like to come out and bring your family and give back and teach your kids, what service can really look like. Here's a chance for you to roll up your sleeves and do it. And then we got bigger ideas with that particular organization. You know, they're trying to build a building where they can do more training with their girls that are there. So they've got a fundraising campaign that we're trying to help them with. So ultimately, that's what Building New Foundations exists to do. We have several other organizations that we're partnered with besides Hearts with Hope. I won't name all of them, but our goal is to just help in our local community, the greater Houston community, in our backyard. There are so many kids that need our help. They need that stable force. They need that love. And that's what we're here. And that's what we get to do, right? That's what you and I get the privilege of doing.
Well, you said something a minute ago. I mean, is that I want to go back to is that, you know, a lot of people, it doesn't take people in money. You know, my father did well for himself, had a ninth grade education, GED,
Yep.
and he was a carpenter, you know, and he had his own remodeling business. And I grew up doing this work with him. We helped out family members. We helped out, you know, people we bumped into. He would go out there and work. He would help. Sometimes we do work for free for him and just help them out. And what you get is a lot of people with a skill set like you bring on the table just from your relationship that they want to do something good. They like doing something good, but they may not have the money where they can donate to make a difference. Yeah. Number one. Number two, you know, like you just said here, a lot of people can throw money into a charity. They really don't know where it's going, you know, and who it's paying. And, you know, when you go out and do the work and bring the kids, which they don't want to be there, but once they get there, you know, they start going, wow, hold on. These are kids just like me. Look at the difference I'm making. You're building a foundation there. And building that foundation is a foundation of, you know, we're not about our TVs. We're not about our tablets. Not about what we own. We're about the people that are family. We're about the loved ones. We're about giving back in this world and doing something that makes this world better. It's not about just all about me. Okay. Yeah. And there's so much of that. I mean, I've grown up very poor, very redneck, and I'm lucky and blessed to be able to live a life that most people can only dream of, you know, and I work all the time. And this is work right now, but I'm working. I was up before anybody and I'll be in bed after anybody. Okay. Yeah. And so, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. You've been very modest with your story today, but you know, I want to tie in something here. We'll kind of wrap it up here is that, you know, we LIVT donated a flight to your poker tournament to help raise capital there for that. We do a lot of that. We're also have done some things with Angel Reach of Congress. We mentioned George Lindahl, which is a very, you know, he's very successful in the oil business in the past. We sold his business down in Darker. He's a great man, found God across the lake. Okay. And now I've been introduced through John Dennis of Wood Rock Capital to Mike Campbell, who is leading up, who's an ex Blue Angel. He's leading up the Blue Angel Foundation that's helping veterans that are coming back from active duty to come back into the community with PTSD. Okay. And so what I'm working to do is we're going to be trying to give away for every member that joins in the next 12 months over so many hours, $45,000 to $10,000 per membership. It should be 120, 200, up to from minimum 120 up to $400,000 a year. We're going to go to vendors, ask them to match that. We're going to come to, you know, the Building the New Foundations and the Angel Reach and others and say, hey, how can we do something on this that also helps y'all? Because we maximize this. Okay. I don't know how that's going to work, what it's going to happen with it, but I'm putting my foot out there. You know, I'm hanging my neck out there and I'm trying to make sure because I went and saw this, you know, sit down in River Oaks, which is a Rose Country Club. It's a very nice place. And I sit down there with John Dennis, who is he's a storyteller. He's great, right? He's a guy, he's an F-18 pilot out of the Navy. And he introduced me to the whole table. And I said, you know, we're here for this dinner. And I start hearing this, and I hear one of these veterans speak. I said, okay, these guys, Mike Campbell's an ex-Blue Angel. He's not taking any money. Nobody's taking any money. They're all doing something different. You're not taking money. You're about to make a difference. You're bringing in workers that work for you. You're bringing in people to run the business. You're bringing all kinds of people to help make a difference. So, you know, I don't know how this all come together, if it's going to work out, but I hope that we can continue to collaborate and make a difference out there in young women and men's lives and also our veterans as well, and give time to these people for what they need. Okay. But Hayden, thank you for your time today. If you know, I want people to be able to know where to go to help them to be able to get involved with their time with Building New Foundations and Hearts Love. Can you give us a little bit of feedback on that so we can wrap up here and where they know where to go, become involved? Go ahead, man.
So before I do that, I want to say, we do put on 2 fundraising events every year. One's a poker tournament and one's a golf tournament. They're usually successful. And I do want to highlight that you and your organization were so generous. I know you've mentioned it quickly, but I want to actually take a second to really acknowledge you guys were so generous in donating a flight that we were able to raffle off, and we raised so much money as a result of that. What a generous thing you did. Did not expect it, but we are so deeply grateful, and it made a big impact. It created a big buzz and a lot of excitement at the event. So thank you a million times over for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I think at the end of the day, there's two avenues by which we would love for people's support. One is we like to connect folks within the greater Houston community to be very specific in terms of regional. We want to help people that are local that want to get their, roll their sleeves up and get in and help mentor some of these kids that need someone to come alongside them. We like to connect them. So we're kind of an on-ramp for that. If anybody has any interest in doing something like that, whether it be preschool kids, kids that are in elementary school, kids that are in high school, kids that are really at risk in terms of they've gone through so much, or maybe they come from a poverty background, and even kids that have just recently graduated and they're trying to figure out how to transition into adulthood. There's so many different ways we can connect people that want to give back into a mentoring type position. You can do that through our website. You can go to www.buildingnewfoundations.com. There's a place within that website where you can click, you'd like more information for mentoring, and we'll get you connected. The other way, of course, is attending these two fundraising events and or being a supporter of those events by being a sponsor. And there's great sponsorships with a lot of notoriety that comes with it, a lot of recognition. And then finally, if anybody wants to make a general donation, I never like asking for money, but money makes the world go round, and it also makes the difference between how you're going to be able to take one organization from being able to treat this way versus being able to treat their kids in a much better way. So if anybody has been blessed and they're looking for a way to make a big impact with the dollars that they have made, and it's just sitting in a bank account and they don't know what to do with it, I promise you, I get that money to work for you in a way that'll make a big difference. And my final point to make is this: at Building New Foundations, I want you to know 99.9% of the dollars that we raise or that's given to us and entrusted to us, we're the best stewards with it, because 99.9% of that money goes to the cause. We don't have a full-time staff. We have volunteers. We really just care about helping kids, and we want all the money that we raise to go to that. So I want to make sure every one of your listeners knows any dollar that they give, it goes to help kids. It really does.
Right. And Hayden, thank you so much. We'll put this into, the comments here. We'll put it into the email that's sent out to all of our listeners on this as well. And then I want to bring it, in the future, I want to try to bring in some of these other individuals we talked about, George and Don, maybe Mike Campbell and some others, and, have something fun on that as well. It's been great having you from Newport Beach, California. I'm looking forward to being, involved at the golf tournament. The next one, I'm looking involved in the other event y'all need. And last, at least, is that you don't have to have money to do this. All you can do is, if you have a skill set, you want to help out. Even if you don't have a skill set, you can help do rose bushes. And believe me, it's not easy work. Somebody needs to be done. But Hayden, thank you so much. Let's wrap up here, man. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.
For more information related to today's episode, visit lift.life, that's lift with a V, or find us on Instagram and Facebook at iFlyLift.